What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. I am your host, Mangone. I'm here with DC. I was here with Hoop. He dropped off out of nowhere. I don't know if he has DC's internet or what happened. So we'll get Hoop back shortly, I believe. DC, how is it going? How are you doing? Talk to me.
Life is good. What, you just taking pot shots at my internet already? Look at it. It's stable as can be. It's got to be a bad omen for the show. Hoop dropped us off like during the countdown, right? Simon behind the scenes giving us the countdown from 10 with like 3 seconds ago. Hoop is gone. So hopefully he'll return and join us for a pretty fun 11-game baseball slate.
Yep, should be a fun 11-game baseball slate. Don't know where Hoop is. We'll have to see what happens or when he jumps back in. Before we dive in and talk some MLB, we got some time to kill here, DC. And I want to know if you saw this. You're my coach, so I have AP in the NBA chat this morning. He was talking some trash. He said that would be like old AP beating Mangone in the Hoop Street. So we got a challenger for next year. Just so you know, there's one on the table and one on the slab. So DC, I'm sure you're going to ride with me, but what's your thoughts here?
Yeah. I'm not abandoning my horse Mangone. We'll be riding with Mangone versus AP. That's an easy one. Compared to Rubio. Oh yeah. Easy pickings there.
Yeah, that is the plan. So that was a lot of fun in the chat. We're talking basketball in the chat too. Everyone's talking about DeAndre Ayton and Rudy Gobert. I saw BigT on Twitter saying he's playing in Lithuania next year. That's how bad he is. So we had a lot of fun in the Discord chat this morning. If you haven't signed up at Run Pure Sports, that's just one of the things about it. There's some entertainment going in there. People having a good time. They're sweating the golf as well. So it's a lot of fun. Be sure to go over and sign up at Run Pure Sports. And we got Hoop back, which hey Hoop, what happened? We were wondering what happened with your internet. Simon's freaking out in the background saying, "Oh, we lost someone," and I was surprised it was you and not DC.
Yeah, so I mean, you get these kids, they become a little bit older, they have all these devices, and somehow my internet connected to an iPhone 10, and no one in my house has an iPhone 10, so I'm assuming that's why the internet got out. I looked up and said, "You're connected to iPhone 10 internet," and we don't have an iPhone 10 internet, so I have no idea what happened there. But back in action, and just brutal timing. Right as we're about to go on, cut out. But I do have to say, yesterday, highlight of the show, highlight of the day had to be the Charlie Blackmon conversation. We joked about it for a while. DC told the story about sitting behind home plate and, the fly balls just go and they die. And, me, Title, and obviously DC said, well, he's a lock to hit a bomb tonight. And sure enough, out of nowhere, Charlie Blackmon hits a bomb. DC, I mean, that was just a phenomenal call yesterday.
One of the first things I did when we got off the show, I had my 20 lineups in, and I didn't have any. I had zero Charlie Blackmon.
Same.
Before the show, first thing I did, because I knew I might forget to do it, or because he wasn't really on my radar, I made sure to get him in two of my lineups because I knew he was going yard once we trash talked him like that. So
yeah, I made like 15 teams on FanDuel, and my best team was the Charlie Black. I mean, it didn't win anything. I mean, it did okay. I mean, it was at the top. It was in contention actually at the end. It was a Rockies Dodgers stack, and it had Blackmon in there, so saved me some money yesterday.
People keep it in mind anytime we really go in on a player and to talk trash about a hitter, maybe get a share because they might do some damage.
That was incredible.
I didn't get to catch the show yesterday because I didn't play MLB. I took a little break from it. Back at it though today. I'll be on both sites. I got one on DK. I got 3 on FanDuel. That's the plan for me tonight. We got so many sports going on. I even said, let me dive into some NHL. So I'm doing an NHL team as well. I'm riding with Matty Ice and his course. I haven't played in a little bit, but I saw him in the NBA chat and I said, why not? So that's one of the perks at Run Pure Sports. I don't have to be sitting there grinding out all the NHL stuff. I can just pull up the playbook, pull up some Vegas lines, pull up the cores, and then just go from there. Put it in a Saber Sim, run some stuff, and pick the team that I like. That's what we do over here at Run Pure Sports. We help set you up for success. Speaking of setting you up for success, we got the Up to Lock show. You don't want to miss out on that. They're at 6:30 talking some NBA. I'm sure they'll discuss MLB, and I wouldn't be surprised if they hop on early. They did it yesterday because K. Fallick had some big vacation or something he was going on, so wouldn't be shocked to see them jump on a little bit early to have a good time. But DC, let's go on over to you and talk about this baseball slate. Give us like a quick overview. I mean, it's a core slate, and that's one reason I kind of stayed out yesterday. I was like, I don't need to mess with cores. Now, I probably would have faded it and it would have worked out pretty well for me, but how do you handle core slates, and how are you handling this specific baseball slate?
Yeah, I was on cores yesterday, and outside of Blackmon, it didn't turn out all that well. Honestly, I'll probably go back to it today. I mean, it's another just the even better hitting weather than yesterday. I mean, it's near perfect in course tonight. 75 degrees, winds out to right center field. And I don't know. I mean, Kyle Gibson's, he'll have some good starts from time to time, but going into Coors Field, you got to like the Rockies' chances. And I know the Phillies disappointed yesterday too, but second game in Coors, they get a bad lefty in Kyle Freeland, who, by the way, the Rockies signed him to a $65 million extension. I believe that they just announced that today. The Rockies front office is like no idea what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, especially when you consider the hitting environments kind of around the country and on the slate, not really any other great ones, I don't think. Pretty cold most places. Obviously a couple indoor places, Seattle and Milwaukee will play fine. But for the most part, a tough hitting slate. So kind of like yesterday, the Coors Field really stands out as a place to go. Doesn't mean it's always going to work out. We saw it just yesterday, but I think if you want to go back to it today, seems like a good strategy to me.
Yeah, I don't agree with the Kyle Freeland signing completely, but I will say it's hard to find pitchers to be like, hey, I'll sign up to pitch in Coors Field.
Sure.
I guess that's the reason they're doing it. I have no idea why, but do you want to mention, guys, like and subscribe to the video, helps us out a ton. We would appreciate it. Hoop, before we kind of dive into this slate, are there any promo codes going on? Someone asked me about that. I know we had the USFL going on and they launched those prize pools. And that's one reason you can sign up at Run Pure Sports. If you want USFL content, they still got a $25K up top prize pool and you get to sign up and play all the sports over here. So are there any codes going on right now?
USFL 36 is still active, believe it or not. So we'll roll with that for, at least today, maybe tomorrow, give people another chance to get in there. 36% off your first payment, any package, monthly, weekly, just can't include SaberSim. So give it a whirl. Like we always say, these other sites, when the sports start, they charge you more. At Run Pure, we'll give you a discount. So join in on the fun. I mean, just multiple sports too. People continue to ship. We had the guy yesterday that won the $777 on DK, single bullet, first place, $100,000. You absolutely love to see it.
Yep. Here's some of the wins. Since you brought it up, let's talk about the members never win segment. People always say the members don't win here at Run Pure Sports. That's not true. We had a big win from Andrew. I think it's Andini, 123, won 100K in baseball. Hoop this past weekend won 120K in baseball. Raiders, 616. 30K in the MLB streets. Cookie Monster took home 25K in NBA. The man took home a nice 20K to add to that million that he won in MLB. Drew Karp won 14K in the NBA streets. And Sam, one of the ladies in the chat, you always see her in the Discord chat. She plays Euro League as well. She took down 5K in NBA. So congrats to those winners. Definitely a ton of them over here at Run Pure Sports. But it's time to jump in and really talk about this MLB slate. It's a bigger one. It's a Tuesday as well, so we don't have as many day games, but let's kick it off first with the Toronto game. Toronto and the Red Sox, two pretty high-powered offenses, and if these guys were not on this slate, you know what would happen here on this slate? These guys would be very highly owned. They'd be a team that people go to for sure. What's your thoughts on that, guys? I know, actually, I just messed up. We talk about pitchers first. I think I'm on the Sunday show with Holden. So I went out of order. So that's my fault. That's probably because that's the last MLB show I watched. But we won't go to that game. We'll talk about those bats, though, because they're really good games. Let's talk about the pitchers at the top in DC. Your pitching breakdown is definitely something I appreciate, right? If I am listening to a show, I'm looking for DC to give me pitching breakdown. So who are you taking at the top here?
Pretty clear number one for me, Corbin Burns. I mean, we saw coming off the Cy Young season, had a little bit of a rough outing. His first time out in freezing weather in Wrigley Field. Bounced back from that, 8 strikeouts against Baltimore, threw 97 pitches there, which you don't see many pitchers going that deep into the pitch count, approaching 100. Wouldn't shock me to get him back over 100. He looks, everything in terms of the pitches and the stuff he's throwing up there, it all looks essentially the exact same as last year, which is perfect, right? When you're coming off a Cy Young season, what more could you really ask for? So I expect Corbin Burns, as long as he's kind of this version of himself, to be the top pitcher on almost every slate that he's on. Helps when you're at home and you get the Pirates, right? So I don't know. I've seen on ownership that it could be somewhat close between him and Walker Buehler. That's kind of hard for me to believe. It definitely should be Burns up top in that perfect matchup. Really, nothing to go against him. So Burns is the clear number one for me, and frankly, a priority play, because I have my doubts about Walker Buehler kind of going forward. It's been a little bit of a struggle for him. Strikeouts just haven't been there. Framber Valdez, the other guy above 10K, not really a strikeout pitcher, also has a much tougher matchup. Robbie Ray, we'll talk about him. I've got serious concerns. You remember last year, I think people will play Robbie Ray, but I'll talk about him briefly. Kind of came out of nowhere last year with that Cy Young season for the Blue Jays, right? Before that, he was like a guy you would pick on. Again, a high strikeout guy, but walked too many dudes, gave up tons of home runs. Came out of last year with the Blue Jays, dominated, signs a big contract with Seattle. First two outings have been pretty concerning for Robbie Ray. Velocity is way down. Last start, just 4 strikeouts, only, I guess, 5 strikeouts in that first one. But there's several reasons to be concerned about his performance. He is at home, though, in Seattle, which is a great place to pitch. They are letting him work deep into games, and the matchup with Texas is still pretty good despite their improvements over the offseason. So I get why people are going to play him, but there's enough concern there for me to look elsewhere. Certainly prefer Corbin Burns way over Robbie Ray. And then even beyond that, right? Eovaldi, the next pitcher, has to face Toronto in a hitter's park in Boston. Max Fried against the Dodgers. You don't love that. So to me, Corbin Burns in that top tier really stands out as the play. And I guess I'll be playing him and kind of hoping other people get cute and go elsewhere, because I do think Corbin Burns is the guy up there.
Yeah, I'm with you on Corbin Burns. I think he's my favorite pitcher tonight. That's the guy that if I was only playing one, I think that's who I'd be locking into my lineups. Hoop, let's go on over to you. What are your thoughts here on the top end arms?
Yeah, I fully agree. Just to add on to the Corbin Burns conversation, his K prop is at 8.5. Now the juice is on the under, but an 8.5 K prop that's a big boy number. And 8.5, only the top arms in baseball get 8.5 K props. So I love Burns. I hope people go to Buehler. I hope people go to Ray over him. I think it's just clearly Corbin Burns, and no matter what he's owned tonight, it's not going to be enough in my opinion. So Corbin Burns, top play, easier to play on DK. FanDuel continues to do a pretty good job it's not a pretty good job. They continue to do a really good job with their price, and they got Burns up in the 11K range. So you got to make some sacrifices if you're going to play him. But, 10-5, 11K on FanDuel, just, the premier play on the slate. Robbie Ray, typically a big time strikeout guy. Hasn't looked great in his first 2 starts, and he's got a full price tag here at 9.8. I will play some of him because it's in Seattle here, and I think he has a chance to maybe get it back on track. But there's not a lineup where I'm going to play Burns, where I'm going to play Ray over Burns straight up, if you see what I'm saying. If I have the chance to play Burns over Ray, I'm doing it every single time. And then the other guy in this top range would be Joe Musgrove, who continues to pitch really well. Back-to-back solid starts, 6 innings, 6 2/3, 8 strikeouts, 6 strikeouts, 22 fantasy points, 28 fantasy points. I think he's a strong play in this mid-8s and above range. Just a very clear pitcher slate for me. Those are, the 2 guys that I have the most interest in this upper tier.
Yep, I'm with you. Really like Corbin Burns. Think we're all agree on that. I'm not excited about Robbie Ray. I found ways I can get him in there if I want to, but I don't think I'm going to. I think Musgrove, definitely interesting. Cincinnati, a team that you can definitely attack. DC, are you grabbing some mid-tier pitchers here, or are you still going up at the top with 2 guys?
Yeah, I'm with Musgrove. I think that Burns, Musgrove pair, if you want to go with that, build the best teams around that you can, right? You're going to have to take some value bets for sure, but there's still plenty of value bets out there, especially on 11-game slate. You're going to feel pretty good, I think, at the end of the night if you've got Musgrove and Burns in there. If you hit on some hitters, probably going to be in the gash line. So yeah, I think that Burns Musgrove pairing looks really good. A lot of the mid-tier pitching kind of off the table for me. I'm not going to play Kikuchi in Boston. We talked about some of the other expensive guys I don't like. Justin Steele, I think, is an okay play. Patrick Sandoval, high strikeout guy, but matchup against the Astros, you certainly don't love that, but I do think he's in play at 6,900. And then John Gray, I think, is a little bit interesting in that mid-tier as well. 8,200 Developed a blister in his first start of the year. It's kind of just a mediocre start against the Blue Jays. But minimum stay on the IL. He's apparently good to go now. He gets that same, good pitching environment in Seattle, which is one of the better pitching environments in the league. And the Seattle offense is really, really struggling. A couple of these guys, Julio Rodriguez, I expected to hit. Another top prospect in Jared Kelenics also struggling. They just don't really have anybody going good right now. Seattle doesn't. So John Gray, again, I think he's going to have made some improvements moving from Colorado to, it's an improvement of himself getting out of Colorado, but I think just better coaching is going to have him a better pitcher this year than we've seen in the past. And I like the matchup for him quite a bit against that Seattle lineup. So he's interesting to me at 8,200. But yeah, a lot of these guys kind of easy write-offs. So that makes guys like Musgrove and Burns all the more appealing.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that. I think Justin Steele's like a mid-tier guy. If it wasn't the race, I think his strikeout upside's good. One guy you could watch it, maybe if you chase some upside with, but I don't need to do it on this slate. I'd rather just find that extra $1,000 for Musgrove. I think that like pairing is something that I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
What about Cole Irvin? Why don't we talk about him, DC? Because I see him popping a little bit, and I don't know if it's because of the Baltimore matchup. He definitely can pitch pretty efficiently at times too, but he's not a guy with like massive upside. He's not going to strike out, like 8 or 10. So what's your thoughts on him for that 6.3K pricing? And Chris Archer, how the mighty have fallen. He's 5.4K. He gets a matchup against KC. If I'm someone that hasn't played MLB DFS in a while and I'm just firing up the DraftKings app, I see Chris Archer at 5.4K, and I think this is like an absolute steal.
Yeah, actually, Cole Irvin, another guy on my short list. He is my favorite of the cheaper options. You kind of nailed it. He's not a very exciting pitcher, right? He's not going to be the top scoring pitcher of the night, hardly ever. Not a high strikeout guy, but he does appear to be at least a little bit improved this year. Gets to pitch in Oakland, right? That's just a huge boon to anybody. Gets a good matchup against Baltimore. It's tough to do damage via the long ball in Oakland, especially at night. So Baltimore, the hitters that you would worry about, the Mountcastles and Mancinis of the world that swing from the right side. It's tough. It's tough in Oakland. So I think Cole Irvin could get some easy outs there. He's going to throw strikes. And I think he'll be fine. You're hoping for 15 to 20 probably from a $6,300 pitcher, but that's enough. We don't typically see these DraftKings tournaments really decided by pitching. As long as your pitching is solid, it's the bats that are going to get you to the top, because I think Burns is capable of 30 plus. I don't think anyone else on this slate is going to get you 30 plus. So if Irvin gets you within 10 of the second highest scoring pitcher, that's good enough probably at 6,300 if you can upgrade several bats with him. So I do like Cole Irvin down there for cheap. And yeah, Archer, he looked good his first start. Kansas City's offense has been sputtering all season long. He's 5,400. He's cheap. Should get extended out a little bit from that 54 or 63 rather pitches he threw in his first start. I think he's a decent way to go too. If you want those Philly bats or Rockies bats and you want Corbin Burns, you need a cheap pitcher. Yeah, Cole Irvin, Chris Archer, I think the two best options for cheap.
I don't think I'm going to need him today. I think I'm going to fade Coors. I think I'm going to go to a different set of bats. We'll have to see. Hoop, let's go over to you. I like paying up. It seems like you do too, but what do you think of Cole Irvin? Because he's going to have some ownership, so we have to make some decisions on him. And some of these other pitchers, like maybe there's a mid-tier guy or a cheap guy that you're on that others are not.
Typically keep it pretty simple at pitcher. Just play the guys that I feel most comfortable with. I don't think there's a need to take a lot of chances. If I'm coming down here, the guys I like are the ones that you guys mentioned. Cole Irvin at 6'3", I'm fine playing him. Pairing him with Burns gives you a lot of flexibility. And then the next guy would be Chris Archer at 5'4". I'm not messing around with any of these other guys in this mid tier. It's Irving and it's Archer. I think they're both fine options, especially if you're building a bunch of lineups tonight. You can get exposure to these guys. If you play these guys, it's easy to spend up on Coors bats. It's easy to spend up on Boston bats. All it takes is one cheapish type pitcher to really make your lineups work. You can go a cheap pitcher, an expensive guy, and maybe a couple value bets, and you can get everything you want. So I will play Irving. I will play Archer. And then the last guy that I'm going to have in my player pool tonight will be this Chris Ellis guy for the Orioles, 4K flat. We talk about it all the time. Say this is like a NBA 3K shitter that you're looking for 15 points on. The same situation here. Not necessarily what Chris Ellis does. It's what he does for the rest of your lineup, what it allows you to do. If he goes out and gets you 10 fantasy points, you can win GPPs with that performance because of how cheap he is. So he is the last guy that I'll have in my player pool at 4K flat.
Yeah. And I mean, if Chris Ellis goes for 10 fantasy points and let's say the next highest pitcher, like Burns, goes for like 30 and the next highest pitcher is 22, well, all you have to do is make 22 points up in one area. And that could be enough to be able to get the job done. So good points brought up by you. DC, final pitching thoughts, and then we can kind of move on and discuss the stacks before the hitters.
Yeah, Burns and Musgrove seems like the kind of the easy pairing. Cheaper guys, we mentioned Cole Irvin, who I like quite a bit. He's my favorite of the cheap bunch. Chris Archer, I think, is in play. I'm fine with Ellis, 4K, good matchup, good park to pitch in. I'll mention two more guys that I'll have some exposure to. Josh Fleming, who will be the long reliever for the Rays. He should be extended out to 70 or 80 pitches. I like the matchup with the Cubs and Wrigley, just a really tough place to hit right now. And he's super cheap. Those guys that come in after, the openers can be nice because one, they missed that top of the order in that first inning the first time through. And two, the opener can't get the win by the baseball rules. So especially for a cheap pitcher, if Fleming pitches well and Tampa Bay wins the game, he'll probably be awarded with the win, which at a $6,100 price tag and the way pitchers aren't, scoring that high, that 4 points could go a little bit of a way. So I don't mind Josh Fleming. And then a play just for ownership purposes, Max Fried. I'm seeing him down to like 2 to 3% ownership. I know his first two starts haven't been great. I know the matchup is tough against the Dodgers, but he is, a borderline ace that you're getting at below 5% ownership. And he's a guy that can give you 6 or 7 innings if he's going well. So you can see it all the time. Really good pitchers shut down good offenses. Even bad pitchers shut down good offenses sometimes. So Max Fried, again, this isn't one where you need to go crazy. You play him in 10% of your lineups, you double the field at least on him, and maybe you're good with that. But that's just too low of ownership for him. And he is interesting to me on FanDuel as well, sitting at 7,400, which is, a pretty good price point for Max Fried despite the matchup. I will say FanDuel in general, who's ever doing the pitching pricing over there is they're much more in line with with my own thoughts than what DraftKings has, because they're kind of nailing these. We talked yesterday where I was saying, yeah, Frankie Montas, they got him all the way at the top, as he should be. You could say the same thing today. They got the two right guys at the top, Joe Musgrove, Corbin Burns. Those should be the two highest priced pitchers on this slate. So it just goes to show you, take that discount on Joe Musgrove, because it is substantial to what he should be priced at.
They've done a really good job to start the year. I mean, typically, some of their pricing is lacking in terms of efficiency, but the pitcher pricing has been spot on almost every slate, which is good to see. Because if Burns comes in at 9.8 or something, or not mid nines, like he's going to be just the highest owned guy by far. Now, if you want to play him, you got to make some sacrifices in your lineup.
Yep. Definitely. You guys all brought up really good points. Before we move on to those stacks, we got 360 watching, 120 likes. So let's get the likes going. Let's subscribe to the channel. Helps out a ton. We want to give away those plays of the day, obviously. So definitely would want to do that, but let's talk about the stacks. Before we talk about the stacks, DC, I don't know why. Can you answer this question for me? Why did I start the show off like Holden does on Sundays? And why does Holden talk? Why does he go game by game and not position by position like the normal format, DC?
I don't know. I swear Holden changes it up every time. I can't keep track. He's the host. Whatever the host is calling the shots, I'll follow along and do my best. But I did appreciate the Holden impression as a host. I see you trying to step up your game, Mangone, trying to be more like Holden. Always a good move.
I don't know if I want to be more like Holden. We'll have to see. I did move. I did decide. I don't know why, but I decided to move across the country and live 15 minutes away from him. So
way too close. Too close.
The three of you guys should get lunch sometime soon.
We've gotten lunch. Here's the thing, DC. I got lunch with Holden. Hoop has said to me, if three gather, we can. RPS pays for it. So if you want a free lunch, DC, that's what
three RPS members together. It's a lunch on the house.
What do you think, DC?
We're gonna have to find a fancy lunch spot to lure me out with Holden. I'll say that.
Well, we'll have to see what we do there. But let's talk about the stacks. And the stacks I want to talk about here are the ones that I think I'm keying in on, but who knows, as we talk about things, maybe I'll change my opinion. Right now, I think Boston and Toronto. I like that game a lot. I want to kind of move away from Coors. If you want to play Coors, I think it's perfectly fine. It just depends on the strategy you want to take. I like maybe attacking Boston and these Toronto bats. And then I also like mixing in Washington a little bit. I think Washington could be a sneaky stack that has enough power that can get the job done. Hoop, let's go to you first. What are some of the stacks that you are looking at on this slate?
Yeah, I like that Washington call. I think they're solid, should be low owned. Obviously the Phillies are, the premier stack on the slate. Team total 6.5. The hope is that enough people got burned last night where they say, all right, they literally did nothing and couldn't hit the ball. I'm not playing them tonight. They're still going to be the highest owned, but maybe it brings down the ownership just a little bit. Outside of that, I'm definitely looking at the Red Sox here. I like the lineup that they rolled out. Trevor Story in that 2-hole, really cheap on FanDuel. And then kind of under the radar one that almost got there for us last night, pretty damn close. Is the Padres, and I'm going back to the Padres. I like their right-handed bats against lefties like Nola, Machado, Luke Voigt. So I'll be back on the Padres at what should be pretty low ownership tonight. So that's kind of where I'm looking for some stacks.
All right, DC, before diving into these positions, who are the stacks you are on? Is it Coors again for you? Maybe we can go to the Coors game tonight on, Rumpier's dime. We'll grab Holden, me and myself, and we'll just go get box seats. How's that sound, DC?
I would be in, but we got the Wolves game too. I can't be missing the Wolves game too. So I gotta.
Fair enough. I definitely want to watch some playoff basketball.
Yeah,
instead,
I gotta watch that one. Yeah, I'm going back to Coors Field. I have no problem fading Coors in general, but I just don't see that many places I want to go. So they will be highly owned, but I think I can get enough different elsewhere to make it work. I don't mind the Twins against Carlos Hernandez, a pitcher that people have kind of been waiting to break out. He throws hard, but just the results haven't been there. Doesn't miss bats. And I could see the Twins doing some damage at low ownership. You obviously don't love the park in KC, but it is at least warm enough where, should be a decent hitting environment. So I don't mind going there. I do kind of like the Nationals call. And then I think, Blue Jays and Red Sox makes a lot of sense. I do like the Red Sox side of that game quite a bit better. I love the Red Sox playing the Red Sox in Fenway. They just do damage there, it seems like, all the time. So you say Kikuchi, a guy who gives up a lot of home runs, a lot of fly balls out to left field. Obviously, those can turn into home runs in Fenway. And then I think the Brewers are decent against the Pirates. JT Brubaker, just not very good. The Brewers, one of those teams, we kind of talked about it yesterday. There's no bats in that lineup that really excite you. Yelich did hit that grand slam yesterday. But as a team against Brubaker and that horrible Pirates pen, I think the Brewers make some sense as well.
All right, we just got the Phillies lineup, so I'll just say that because obviously it's one of the biggest ones on the slate. Segura, Hoskins, Harper, Blastolanos, Realmuto, Schwarber, Baum, Gregorius, and Verling. So those are the starters for the Phillies. But we can dive in now. We can talk about some of these bats. And if we're going to consider Coors today, how do you not consider Realmuto at the catcher position? I mean, definitely a bat that you want to consider getting on your lineups, but he's expensive. He is 5.3K. Hoop, I'll head on over to you first. Catcher is sometimes a position where we just say, hey, we're either going to pay up for the best guy or we're going to pay down. Are you just going to pay up and grab JT Realmuto at 5.3K? Or maybe you're going to go down to an Austin Nola who could be in there against the lefty at 3.6K. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, so I mean, catcher's always an interesting talking point. Like a lot of times you can incorporate, if you're stacking, the catcher into your stacks. But to me, just looking at this, it's a position where I'm either, if I'm not stacking, I'm either going all the way up to the top or all the way to the bottom. If you go to the top, it's Realmuto. If you come down to the bottom, it's going to be, Travis D'Arnaud if he's in the last 2K. So what DraftKings did today with the Braves pricing is relatively interesting. Like they've priced all the Braves guys like way, way down today. So every position there's going to be a Braves player that is really cheap. So I think he's in play at 2K flat. And then my boy Zach Collins, I'm going to keep playing Zach Collins. And now he's in the 5-hole tonight, 2.4K. So like it's all the way up or all the way down for me. And then the only guy like in the middle would probably be Nola, like you said, who's been batting second for the Padres. I do really like him.
All right, DC, we'll head on over to you. Hoop said all the way up or all the way down for catcher for him. Is that the approach you're taking here on this slate?
Sort of, for the most part. It makes sense with Real Muto. He is the top option here. Can't go wrong with Sal Perez and his power as well. But I'll make the case for Mitch Garver, who I think was a hero of hoops. What was that last week with your 100K win?
Actually, I have my boy Collins in there.
Okay, yeah. But Garver helped someone out. I can't remember who it was. Anyway,
Yeah.
Point is, guy who crushes lefties, crushes fastballs. That's Robbie Ray. That's what Robbie Ray is, a lefty who throws a ton of fastballs. And then you have the fact that Robbie Ray looks somewhat diminished. Ray, even last year when he was good, gave up a lot of home runs, specifically to right-handed bats. And Garver, yeah, he's just the exact profile of a guy you would want. You also get, I assume, low ownership because people aren't going to go to Texas, and leverage against Robbie Ray at a pretty weak position in general. So you kind of, add it up all together, and it looks like Garver, my favorite GPP play, and frankly, just play in general at catcher. Austin Nola, do we have the Padres lineup yet? I'm not sure. He did lead off last night. If he is again, that's pretty enticing leadoff hitter against a bad lefty in River San Martin. So, yeah, plenty of options at catcher here.
Yep. Plenty of options to go to at catcher. Doesn't feel like the worst catcher slate, but I kind of agree with Hoop. Like up or down is where I'm kind of looking on this slate. Let's talk about the first base position, and we'll start with Rhys Hoskins. He gets a lefty, and a lefty that got paid and is not that great of a pitcher, Kyle Freeland. You got Vlad Guerrero. We talked about obviously that this Jay's spot could be really good, and they get Evaldi, which Evaldi isn't a guy I want to just go out and attack, but I can attack Evaldi with Vlad Guerrero. That sounds like a good idea. Hoop, let's go on over to you. Are you spending up for some first baseman today, or are you going down to like your boy Bobby Dahlbeck at 4-5? He's someone that I think you might like a little bit if you play some Boston against the lefty in this spot.
I like that Dahlbeck call. Honestly, I kind of overlooked him, but at 4-5, batting seventh, like these are the situations that I like to attack for tournaments. Obviously not a cash game play, batting seventh at 4.5K, but he's a guy down here, solid offense, projected to score runs, 4.5K batting seventh. People don't play 4.5K guys batting seventh. So I will have Dahlbeck in tournaments. The more obvious plays here, obviously, the most obvious would be Hoskins. Should be pretty, all these Phillies guys will get some ownership. So, definitely like Hoskins, the Rockies guys, Crone and Connor Joe, 4-7 for Crone, 4-4 for Joe. You can play Joe in the outfield as well. Solid options. And then a guy I'm going to continue to play is Rowdy Tellez, cheap price tag. The DK continues to keep his price way down, 2.9K. He has a lot of upside. And then, I talked about the Padres, Luke Voit, 3.3K. I'm going to keep playing him too.
Yep, Luke Voit like that call as well. DC, lots of first basemen you can play. And if I told you Ohtani would be virtually unowned on the slate, no one's going to play him. Wouldn't you be interested? I know it's Valdez, but hey, it's still Ohtani. He's the best hitter in the world, and you can get him at no ownership. So it's something to think about a little. Or maybe you're going down for some of these other options, like a Luke Voit we talked about. Maybe, I don't know, a Rowdy Tellez in the 5-hole against Brubaker in that smaller park. Definitely something you could go to. But what is your thoughts here on the first base position, DC?
Muted. That rarely happens to DC. A mute button, but they got me today. I have no problem taking that huge ownership discount on Ohtani. The matchup pretty horrible, but Ohtani's also like a very unique hitter in his approach. So I'm not sure he's affected as much by kind of the numbers against that some people would be with Valdez. Hoskins, Guerrero, of course, at the top are good options. Luke Voit, 3,300, hasn't really gotten going yet, but a bad lefty. You have to have interest there. I like the Tellez call from Hoop. And then, the Braves thing is pretty interesting today. I mean, you're going to give me $3,400 Matt Olson, who's like legitimately one of the best hitters in baseball. It's not like Walker Buehler's like, guaranteed gem every time out. So I'm pretty enticed. Maybe it's a trap. Maybe DraftKings knows something we don't. But $3,400 Matt Olson's kind of hard for me to pass up on, I'll be honest.
Well, if $3,400 Matt Olson does not work out for you, DC, you know what they say? We can come back tomorrow. You'll be back tomorrow with me. I don't know. I might be a giant again and you'll be the midget DC, but we'll be talking some MLB. It's a shorter slate tomorrow, but hey, you just always can come back the next day, right? So he's $3,400. It's a cheap price tag. So maybe that's a better play than going like the more expensive Ohtani. Because
what do we think the Braves are people going to take the Braves bait? Are they going to play these guys?
I don't know. I'll ask Hoop. Do you think they take the Braves bait? I don't think they do.
It's an 11-game slate. You know, you got to look at like what do you need to fill out your rosters today. And I don't know. I think it's still pretty easy to make teams. I think it's still going to be easy to play Phillies without going super cheap. So people in general, regardless of price, tend to avoid picking on the big name pitchers. Walker Buehler is still a name. He hasn't pitched like a name this year. So I'm hoping people stay off him because I'm gonna definitely be on him. Like you said, like Matt Olson is one of the best hitters in baseball. He's facing what I think is a mediocre pitcher right now. Like to me, Walker Buehler is a middle of the road pitcher. You know, long term, he's probably better, but it just right now he's not pitching all that great. I mean, I just think just elite values these guys are, and I don't think they're going to be super highly. 11-game slate too, so a lot of games to pick from.
You can easily take your two favorite pitchers for us. That's Corbin Burns and Joe Musgrove. One of the best offenses. I know they haven't performed necessarily like it so far, but the Braves, I think, will be one of the best offenses when it's all said and done. And you can get three like really good, you know, a stack of three or three of your favorite one-offs, whatever it is, easily. So it seems like a pretty fun way to build a lineup. Like you said, Walker Buehler, not someone that you really need to fear. I think people, when they see an offense against a pitcher like Walker Buehler, who has that huge name value, they just like almost don't even notice what the prices of the opposing offense are, right? They're just like not going to play those guys. But yeah, I mean, no pitcher is completely safe or infallible, and certainly Walker Buehler isn't in that matchup. And it is also one of the, you know, Dodgers Stadium, not a perfect place to hit, but in the middle of April, it's one of the best hitting environments on this slate. So yeah, I think taking those discounts on some of the Braves could be fun. You don't have to do it on all your lineups, but it's a decent way to go tonight.
One thing to mention, DC, like you get 9 at bats. So that's one thing we'll mention, which is always nice. It's nice to kind of get it. It's not something I like, you know, pushing me over the top, but I definitely think about it a little bit when I roster my guys. And hey, you could put Olsen at the first base position for 3-4. Maybe you plug in Albies at a second base position, which isn't sometimes fun to roster at 3-6. And maybe you just punt all the way with the Travis d'Arnaud at 2K, right? Like if you just get the full blown punt on a guy like d'Arnaud, definitely something that you kind of can talk yourself into and just do a 3-man stack.
Austin Riley's 2.9. Marcell Ozuna's been red hot. He's 2.7.
There are interesting tags for sure. It's hard to ignore. If I do it, I don't think you need to do it as a 5-man. I think it's better as like a 2 or 3-man stack. That's definitely something I think is
kind of that makes sense. Yeah. You can go 5-man, like 5-man Phillies, 3-man Braves if you wanted.
I agreed. I think it's definitely an interesting route you can take on this slate, and you'll be unique for sure. You're definitely going to be different with that approach. Let's go on over to the second base position. I talked about Ozzie Albies at 3-6, definitely a cheap price tag. Let's go on over to you, Hoop. I see Trevor Story 5-4 against Kikuchi. Definitely someone that you could spend up on this slate. We talked about Robbie Ray not looking as great. Well, what about a Marcus Semien against a lefty? You know he can smash lefties. Hoop, what's your thoughts here on this second base position?
Yeah, the Robbie Ray thing's interesting because, I mean, I think a lot of people will play him at pitcher. So, you know, looking at some of those Rangers guys, I think it's going to be pretty contrarian. I don't think many people are going to play the Rangers tonight. So it definitely makes sense. You know, some of the other guys, yeah, Story, great play, 5-4, really cheap on FanDuel. He's like 3K, I think, on FanDuel. So great play over there. Colton Wong, I always like lead off. I'm on the Brewers tonight, 4.1K, great price tag for him. If you want to go cheap, you have Jorge Polanco, 3.6, Luis Araz, 2.5K leading off. So really like him. Tony Kemp kind of in the middle there at 3.6. Brendan Rodgers at 3.8. I don't know. I think it's a good position. I'm probably hesitant to go up to the top here. I mean, Trevor Story is a nice play at 5.4. I'll just get my exposure to him on FanDuel where he's cheaper, likely staying in this 4K and below range, like Wong and then all those guys that I mentioned. I think there's solid value at this position. So likely a spot where I'll be looking to save some money.
Yep. You got Segura too, an interesting option if you're stacking up those Phillies. He's also hitting in the 1 hole. So that's interesting. Yeah. And DC, don't look now. Big Platoon is in the chat talking about the Twins. He's talking about some of the guys. He says they're just too cheap. You know he's looking at Jorge Polanco with the advantage. You know he's looking at a Luis Ariz in the one hole. So what's your thoughts here on these Twins prices and these two guys at second base in Ariz, who Hoop talked about, and Jorge Polanco at 3.6, which just
they really are really similar to the Braves situation. I mean, the Braves offense is better overall, but like the Twins, I mean, their entire offense is mid 3K and below. I mean, it's just elite value.
Yeah, against we're not that worried about Walker Buehler, but Carlos Hernandez really hasn't proven anything. He was not great last year. Rough first outing, his velocity was down. So yeah, Polanco, Luis Ariz leading off. He's swinging a good bat this year so far. Yeah, I like those Twins bats a lot. I mean, you get Ariz, Polanco. You can play Ariz at third base, Polanco at second base. Total of 3K per player, first and second in the lineup. Going to get 4 or 5 at bats each. So it's a good way to start. There's, I think, a lot of fun ways to build tonight. It is a pretty fun slate. The more we talk about it, the more I like it.
Yeah, I mean, those Twins prices are definitely intriguing for sure for the full stack. Again, I don't know. Maybe they just feel better for that 3-man stack rather than the full 5, but you can definitely do it if you want to get in a ton of big bats. So certainly a route that you can go. And second base is definitely a position where I think putting them in your lineups is not a bad idea. Let's head on over to the third base position. Hoop, will go on over to you. And if you like Boston, like it's lefty and it feels uncomfortable, but he won't be owned, is Rafael Devers. I mean, he could definitely pop off. You can see Kikuchi out of the game early and just see Boston just rallying. Would not surprise me. You got Manny Machado against the lefty with the advantage at 4.6K. Feels like a pretty cheap price tag. And Alec Baum at the, hitting in that 7 or 8 hole. He gets a lefty too, gets the platoon advantage to someone else that you could be interested in. What are you doing here, Hoop, with the third base position?
Yeah, I like that call on the lefty Devers matchup. I think people avoid lefty matchups, and that's going to leave Devers under-owned here. I think Devers, the Boston offense is in a great spot, and everyone else around him is probably going to get some ownership, and he's going to probably come in relatively low on. So I like the Devers call. Bohm, I think, is a great play. Ryan McMahon is a guy. Manny Machado, I talked about the Padres. Love the Padres. Machado hit us a bomb last night. Wouldn't be surprised if he did it again tonight. And then you got the Braves situation. Austin Riley is 2.9K, and he's been one of the better third basemen so far this year. For the Twins, you can go to Ursula at 2.1K. I mean, literally 100 more than the minimum, batting 6th. Third base is pretty damn loaded. You can play a Raz here at 2.5K. This is a position, though, where a lot of these guys that I like are part of stacks I like. So I'll be playing the teams that I'm stacking here. You got a Phillies guy, you got a Rockies guy. I like the Twins tonight. We talked about the Braves. You have multiple Twins guys. I like the Padres. You have Machado. So this is a position where whoever I'm stacking, I will be playing one of the third basemen for them.
All right. DC, what third baseman are you going to in this spot? I mean, Justin Turner, he's only 3.9 against the lefty. I know that lefty is Max Fried, but hey, it definitely seems like a pretty good price tag. You sounded like you liked Austin Riley at 2.9, even though it's against Buehler. There's definitely a lot of cheap third basemen and then a lot of like good third basemen at the top that you can spend up on. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, maybe Austin Riley can save me from more Bobby Witt pain because they're both 2,900 now. I don't have to play Bobby Witt anymore. But we know what's going to happen now if I go Riley over Witt there and jump off the ship. I'll have exposure to both those guys, but $2,900 Austin Riley is just kind of crazy to me. So yeah, I think he's a great option if you need the savings. I am with Hoop though, where there's like, what is it, like 3/4 of the team have a guy at third base that you think is a pretty good play. So this does seem like a position that you likely want to include it in your stack. You guys mentioned most of the guys that I would consider. Alec Bohm, of course, a great option in Coors. The guys at the top, Bregman, Devers, are solid as well. And then I do think the top overall guy is Manny Machado, who's swinging a really, really good bat. Homered yesterday. Gets a really bad lefty, I think, in the red San Martin. And he knows what to do with it. So Machado would be kind of the one guy I would be willing to use maybe as a one-off. But for the most part, I do think this is a position you probably want to include in your stack.
Yeah, I like the Machado one-off idea. Definitely something I'm considering, especially probably like if I play the Nationals, right? Because like I don't know who's the National, like it's Maikel Franco. Like I don't know. Like yes, he could be a a unique guy that put throughout your lineups. But I don't know, DC, tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe this is like a bad take on it. Like, well, I guess he's going against Madison Bumgarner. Isn't Franco better against the righties? Isn't he one of those weird ones where it feels like righties he's better than, or is it just lefties he's better to platoon?
I think he's just like all over the place in his performance, so it kind of changes every year. He's got bounced around the league a little bit. I still think he's fine play for 3,100 though against Gilbert, who seems to be pretty bad. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. But yeah, I do like him at 3,100 for sure.
All right. Before we kind of dive in and talk about the next shortstop position, DC, I want to go back to you. Let's say I'm on twitter.com and I'm trolling too many people, right? And I'm blocked from a weatherman, right? Like, what's the weather tonight? I might not know. I might be blocked, and I need someone that actually dives into the weather themselves, even though they don't have a meteorologist degree. So what's your thoughts on the weather tonight, DC?
I'm not seeing much. Is there games I should be concerned about that I missed? Because I'm seeing a pretty clean slate for the weather. A lot of green out there.
I don't know. Maybe I'm blocked. Maybe I can't see these things. That's why I'm trying to get the answer from old DC.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go. Usually I wait for the signal. Which games do I need to worry about? Then I go use google.com, look up the radar, come to my own conclusion. But I'm not seeing much to worry about today. So I think we're all systems go.
All right. Sounds good. Hoop. I see the likes are struggling today. We have 450 watching. 171 likes. I thought by now it'd be over 200. We're at 5:30 Eastern, right? I mean, I figured we'd be above 200. What's the number we have to get to in order to give out those plays of the day? Because I see people in the chat. Like I said, I wasn't diving into the baseball streets yesterday. Some people saying that you were pretty hot. We had members winning 100K. We're not giving those plays away for like a cheap tag. So what's the number of likes we need to give the plays of the day?
Show calls yesterday were spot on. I mean, we nailed the pitching. We're going to nail it again today. But I mean, to complete those lineups, I mean, you need the plays of the day at the end, and we're going to need 250 likes. I mean, is Charlie Blackmon going to become a play of the day? You never know. I mean, he rewarded us yesterday, could be there today. You don't want to, if you're a free YouTube watcher, you don't want these plays to go to Discord. You want them. So we got to get up to 250. It's very simple.
All right, let's get these up to 250. Also, we got Stephen Coy in the chat saying he can assist with the weather, and I will attest. I want to wait for Glock to be on a show to ask this question because I forget. But Glock said one time they were grinding League of Legends at like 4 a.m. Right, like they're sitting there grinding League of Legends, and there was like a tornado that was heading towards like wherever the League of Legends kids play, and one of the games got canceled. And I think Coy or maybe it wasn't going to get canceled, and people were worried. And Coy gave some assistance on that. So he might be able to give us some weather takes if ever needed. So I'll have to ask Glock about that the next time he's on a show with me.
A tornado headed to like the building where the League of Legends players were or something?
Yeah, or it can like take out the
internet
power,
was going
right?
to cut out or something. I mean, because that's like internet dependent. So like if the internet goes out, they're done. I'm assuming that's why, right?
Yeah, I forget the full story. Maybe next time I have Glock on, I'm going to ask the story because Coy
I've never partaken in the League of Legends streets myself, and I can't
missing out. I had a run. I had a nice little run for a while. It was fun, but then it's weird life, that's for sure.
Did you ever sweat the games? Were you watching the League of Legends?
I did at one point. Like the first slate I played, who captain did the playbook. It was right around when RPS started, and I shipped the entire slate. I was like, oh, this is easy. I'm going to print every slate, like no problem. And then, obviously that was not the case. And it lasted about a week. It was fun for a week for me. Then I think golf or NASCAR started back up. And made
this was the early pandemic days.
Yes.
All right. And hey, listen, here's the thing. If we get the takes out, if we get the likes up, I got someone texted me with their home run call. So yeah, we'll have to see about that. I don't know if they gave me the home run call. I got to read the text a little better, but maybe it was they gave their call yesterday, but I don't know. You did text me and you're watching the show. So give me your home run call if not, because I want to throw that in there. They said that they crushed it yesterday. So, hey, we can get a free call from another coordinator. So let's get those likes up.
Is it Big T? Are you allowed to say?
I can't say.
No? You can't say. Right. Yeah, fair enough.
Big T will be on the Up to Lock show, and I'm sure they'll talk some MLB as well. So you don't want to miss out on that. They'll be breaking down the NBA. We got Steve Boynton also saying what's up. So pumped to have Stevie Boynton in there. I'm sure he'll be in the Discord chat giving away his takes as well. So go sign up at Run Pure Sports. You gotta, get in the Discord chat and hang out with us. It's a fun time, and we'll be updating the NBA stuff as well. Let's talk about the shortstop position though. At the top, hey, Trey Turner against a lefty. He's not going to be owned, but it's Max Fried, and that's probably why, but he can always go off. I think Xander Bogaerts at 5K That is something I'm interested in against the lefty. I'm considering him. You got Willie Adames, 4.7K against Brubaker. Definitely something that I think you can attack. I think there's a lot at the top to consider. Let's go over to you, DC. Who are some of the shortstops you are looking at on this slate?
Yeah, the shortstop position in general seems a little bit down this year, where there's not that many players. This is the same thing was yesterday. I kind of played Trey Turner almost by default just because there wasn't a lot that I like. He came through pretty well for us. Could potentially do the same thing today. Again, a tough matchup against Fried, but still, he does get the platoon advantage. You can run a little bit on Fried. Obviously, Trey Turner can run on almost anybody. A really low end guy, I will have a couple Texas stacks. Corey Seager, you'll get him, I assume, well below 5% ownership against Robbie Ray. I don't hate that. If Texas does do some damage, Ray won't be in there too long anyway. Bogarts is fine. I think the best, Carlos Correa, if you're on the Twins, I do think the best point per dollar play at shortstop is Jeremy Pena leading off for the Houston Astros. He's off to a very strong start in his rookie year. Gets the lefty Sandoval. And the Astros are obviously one of the smarter organizations. He doesn't usually lead off. And the fact that he is today means that, their analytic department thinks that he's going to have success in this particular matchup. So I'll take that into account and take a leadoff hitter who's not usually up there. Jeremy Pena for the Astros, I think, is a really good cheap guy. One more cheap player, couple more, the Braves and the Twins, right? You got to almost mention them at every single position. Dansby Swanson, 2,300, and Nick Gordon, 2,100. Again, on a slate where we do like paying for pitching. Corbin Burns, Joe Musgrove being the guys we like up top. Makes sense to take some of these cheap values on pretty decent offenses.
Yeah, and don't forget about Carlos Correa, 4-3, decent price tag in that 3-hole. Hoop, let's go on over to you. Shortstop position, who do you got?
I think there's a lot of guys that are in play here, but no one stands out as the guy that you have to play. I just think there's a lot of if you're not stacking, I think shortstop should be one of the last positions you fill in, because there's guys at every price point that I'd be okay with. If you want to go all the way up to the top, Trey Turner is a phenomenal play. If you can't get all the way up there, you want to come down to Xander Bogaerts. I think he's a fine play at 5K. If you can't get there, you got Willie Adames at 4.7, Carlos Correa at 4.3. And then it drops off where, after Correa, you just go all the way down to a guy like Pena at 3.2, Nick Gordon, 2.1K, part of that Twins team that we talked about, really, really cheap. He's batting fifth, a guy that's typically bottom of the lineup, but he's batting fifth on the road. He's going to get, 4 to 5 at bats at 2.1K. I'll take that. And then Swanson at 2.3. So not a position where something stands out all right, this guy's a must play. I got to get him in there. But there's a lot of guys here in play at various price points. So I don't want to say it's a loaded position, but there's a lot of guys in play here.
Yep, definitely a lot of options that you can go to today. Definitely can't ignore the shortstop position. Pretty good one. You can fill it out with your stack too, or maybe take a one-off. I think there's tons of ways you can go. Let's head on over to the outfield. Got about 5 minutes till we might close out the show, but we got to get those likes up. Only 19 more to give out those plays of the day. Let's go on over to the outfield position though. DC, you talked about, liking some of these Twins. I'll give you the floor to talk about your boy Trevor Larnach in the platoon spot. You obviously can discuss him. Max Kepler going to be cheap, but there's a ton of spend ups as well that you cannot ignore. If you look at the outfield position at the top, I talked about the Ohtani thing. You could certainly do that, but I like going to a Juan Soto. I like a Nelson Cruz, a JD Martinez again.
Yeah.
Against the lefty, and you cannot ignore those Coors bats as well. Even though Kyle Schwarber, he's against the lefty, people might shy away in Coors. Maybe that's a way that you get different because people are scared to go lefty. Tons of guys to talk about at the top. What do you like here?
Yeah, all the Twins look good. Max Kepler, again, hitting cleanup against a bad pitcher, and he's 2,900. Can't go wrong there. All 4 of the Rockies outfielders, I think, are good plays. That's Connor Joe. He's leading off at 4K, or 4,400 rather. Our boy Charlie Blackmon, 3,900, hitting second. Chris Bryant back in there, 4,500. And even Randall Grichuk, I think, is very cheap, I believe, 3,300, something like that, 3,100. Hitting 7th, but yeah, all 4 of those guys very much in play if you want to go in that direction. I do like JD Martinez. The more I'm looking at Kikuchi, man, he's been really, really bad in his career outside of Seattle against right-handed bats. Now he's got to face this Boston team in Fenway. Looked pretty bad that first outing against the Yankees. This is one where you could see the Boston, sometimes if Boston gets rolling, it feels like they put up like sometimes 5 or 6 runs in the first inning. This feels like it could be one of those games for Boston. So I'm going to bump a guy like JD Martinez and Kike Hernandez leading off for Boston up my board quite a bit. So yeah, Twins, Braves have cheap guys. I like the Nelson Cruz call a ton. He looked pretty good in that first game of the doubleheader. And then I'll have a lot of Rockies on the lineups myself.
Yep, I'm excited. I think it's a pretty good spot for the outfield. There's definitely guys that I am going to be on. I like this outfield position a ton. Hoop, how about you? I mean, are you loading up on those Phillies outfilders maybe, or are you going other routes here? What's your thoughts on the outfield?
Yeah, I mean, I think Castellanos is the guy that ends up being pretty popular here. I mean, he's definitely, the highest projected guy, but I will say his at-bats yesterday were a disaster. He looked really bad at the plate yesterday. Small sample size, he could easily bounce back against the lefty here, but did not look great at the plate. Harper, I think, is good for tournaments. Lefty people will probably avoid that a little bit. But I agree. I really like the Rockies guys. Very fair price tags on them. Our boy Blackman 3.9. I mean, is he going to treat us well back-to-back nights? I'm definitely playing Blackman. He rewarded us yesterday. He's going to be in my player pool. We're going to have the cheap Braves guys that you can definitely look at as well. I mean, this, outfield, tons of different ways you can go. I like the Nelson Cruz call. The Nationals, I think, are a very interesting team tonight. I like the Brewers guys. I mean, they're cheaper on FanDuel, but Yelich hit an absolute bomb last night. Hadn't really been playing all that well, but I believe it was actually a grand slam. Renfroe batting 6. I like him in tournaments. Kind of where I'm at. A lot of different options here, though, obviously.
Yep. Obviously, outfield, a pretty loaded position. Definitely going to be a good spot to load up on. We got 6 more likes we need to get to those plays of the day, or we're going to pull the plug. So let's give one last push to get it home. And while we do that, let's talk about the Strokes Gained show. Hoop, we got that going on today. Obviously, we got JSU with the Up the Lock show coming up next, but you're going to be talking some golf at 8:30. Then we also have another golf show tomorrow. We have all the content you need over here at Run Pure Sports. So like the video, subscribe to the channel to get notified when we go live, and they'll be going live at 8:30. So Hoop, sell the people on why they should check out the golf show.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique event, a team play event this week. I believe one day they do best ball, the other day they do alternating shots. It's something different. It's out of the ordinary. So we'll dive into it, talk about different strategies, different ways to kind of build your teams, and kind of what you can expect this week at the Zurich Classic. So that's at 8:30, and then the guys will be going live tomorrow night for the premium show as well. All the golf content will be getting posted on the site, tonight or tomorrow morning.
Yep, be sure to check that out. We'll have tons of awesome stuff there for you guys. And then just to say, since we have DC here, we have a baseball show tomorrow, and it's not going to be a massive slate, but there'll definitely be some games to talk about. And we got some good pitching that's going to be on it. Now that we moved Bieber over, we'll have Bieber on that slate. DC, I'm looking at the guys that we'll have. We have Woodruff will be there. Charlie Morton against the Dodgers. And we got a core slate, right? Marquez against Eflin for like a 4 or 5 game round. I don't know how much they're going to make it. It's going to be a pretty fun one, DC. What do you think of this pitching card?
Yeah, you love it. Anytime there's day baseball, happy to have it tomorrow included. So we'll be jumping down the. I'll be midget DC against the going up against the giant man going on the early show.
Yeah, we'll have a good time with that. So be sure to tune in. It'll be live. It'll be free on the YouTube channel. When you subscribe, you get to be able to check that out. But time to get into those plays of the day. You guys got it home to the 258. We also got Colin in the chat. He's asking if the USFL 36 code is going on, asking if it gets for some other people. No, you only get the Run Pure Sports coordinators, the best of the best. That's what you need. And the code is still going on. So Hoop has not shut it down yet. So he'll probably shut it down soon, though, I'm sure. So be sure to get in, use that code USFL 36, get you 36% off. But time to go over to those plays of the day.
And once we start making our millies on YouTube here, we can just give away all the content for free. So once we get to that guy's level, it's going to be great for the people, because everything at runpuresports.com will be free, and we won't have to mess around with these promo codes or anything anymore.
Yeah, we'll be giving away swag for free too once we hit that $1 million mark on YouTube. So help us get there. We would appreciate it. Hoop, you're on fire though. As people were saying in the chat, you crushed it yesterday. And of course, you crushed it on Friday. We reviewed your lineup on the Monday show. So if you want to check out Hoop's review, go back on the channel and check that out. We talked about it and how to apply some strategies. So maybe put that on and see how Hoop got the job done before you get listening to the Up the Lock show. That way it kind of gets you right, get you thinking about how to build winning lineups. Hoop, who do you got though? Who is your play of the day today?
Oh man, so we went yesterday to the Padres with Luke Voigt, and he did not necessarily didn't get the job done for us. It was Machado that got the job done on the Padres. I love the Padres again today. I like all the guys at the top. I'm gonna go with Will Myers. Will Myers batting 7th today, should keep his ownership pretty damn low. I think the Padres put up a bunch of runs. He should have low ownership. So give me Will Myers, Rich Parents play of the day.
All right, Will Myers it is. I'm going to go next with my play of the day. We'll leave DC for last, head down to the mom's basement. But my play of the day is going to be the guy I talked about a little bit. It's Nelson Cruz. I like this national stack a bit. He's only got 1 home run on the year. He gets a nice lefty here in this spot. Give me Nelson Cruz. He is going to bang one out. I like him a ton here. And my plays of the day for MLB, I don't have them all off the top of my head how they've done, but I know they've been hot. I haven't missed yet. So hopefully we can keep the streak going. Hopefully Nelson Cruz keeps it alive for me. DC, we'll go over to you. I don't know if you're giving out a pitcher as well. I know sometimes you get both, but who is the mom's basement play of the day?
Yeah, just a hitter today. The pitcher I think is a little bit too straightforward to go off the board with the play of the day. I'm going out to LA, take one of the best hitters in baseball. Big discount on today's slate going up against Walker Buehler. Matt Olson, I believe hitting 2nd or 3rd for the Braves. Either way, just too much of a discount for how much he's crushing. I believe he has 8 hits in the last 3 days, 3 and 2 hits in the last 3 games for Matt Olson. Been on fire, not really scared of the matchup. Ownership should be low and take advantage of that cheap price point. Matt Olson is the mom's basement play of the day.
All right, Matt Olson it is. For me, it's Nelson Cruz. For Hoop, it is Will Myers. We'll do our top 2 stacks. Mine, I'm on the Red Sox and I'm on the Nationals. Those are my top 2. DC, who are your top 2 stacks?
I'm going Rockies, and the off the board stack today is the Texas Rangers against Robbie Ray.
All right, and then Hoop, who are your top stacks? Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave out the ones that I think are obvious. I'm gonna go the Padres and the Twins.
All right, Padres and Twins. And here's the thing. It could be, someone did say in the chat, Cruz in the second game of a doubleheader, old guy, he could miss. So here's the thing. Let's give a second one out. We'll be nice. Another guy I'm spending on the Red Sox. I'm going
Cruz is in there. He's in the lineup, by the way.
Oh, is he? He's in the lineup?
He's in there. He's batting 3rd, so you're good.
Don't let him trick you to give him 2 plays, man.
We did. We tricked him. I like Xander Bogaerts too, but my official play is Nelson Cruz. So like, if it goes really bad, that's the guy that my record's on. I feel like I've gotten double digits in every single game so far. I want to keep the streak alive. So I even gave a pitcher once, and it was that Merrill Kelly call from DC. So we'll be back tomorrow though, bringing you tons of calls in the MLB streets. Will be a nice, fun early slate. We'll also be back on Thursday for that as well. And we got Hoop coming up with the PGA show. So don't miss out on that. Don't miss out on JSU and Big T. They'll be breaking down the NBA stuff as well. If you like sports, Run Pure Sports is the place to be. Use the code USFL36, get you 36% off. But that's going to wrap it up for us. Thanks a lot for joining. For me, Mangone, DC, and Hoop. We will see you guys later.